Extremely frustrating afternoon for Oxford United, but you've got to give credit to Pompey. It's a massive win for them. First and foremost, before I talk anything about this game, there was a huge stoppage during the first half, over half an hour, for a medical emergency to an Oxford fan, just hoping that whoever it was is okay. Hello everybody and welcome back to OUFC Fan View. It's Ian here once again, and it's time to do another review of another Oxford United game. Today the U's were at home to Portsmouth. Oxford played out a very drab and dull 0-0 draw against Derby on Tuesday night. You can go and check out my video on that one. Not many people did. Probably not surprising. Oxford had a chance to get back to winning ways, playing the other promoted side alongside Derby and themselves in Portsmouth, a Portsmouth side that have been struggling away from home pretty much all season and certainly in the recent months. But Portsmouth upset that form book. They ripped it up, chewed it up, spat it out all over Oxford United, and they came away from the Kassam Stadium with a massive win, and it leaves Oxford United and their fans scratching their head as to where this season is going to go from here. It finished Oxford United 0, Portsmouth 2. So once again, congratulations to Portsmouth, congratulations to their fans, who I must say, as always, were fantastic and sung throughout the whole game. But we'll break down everything like I usually do. I'll go over the team news, I'll go over the key points of the game, and then I'll give my final thoughts for both sides at the end of the video. If you do just want to jump to the end and see my final thoughts, that's absolutely fine. You can use those timestamps that are down below. But I'd always encourage you to watch the whole video. Either way, I'd really appreciate it if you did hit that like button, because that does help me out a lot. And if you do like the content, consider subscribing. Let's have a look at the team news then, starting with Oxford United. And I did actually think Gary Rowett would make more changes than this after that very dull 0-0 draw against Derby, but it was just the one change, and it was Ruben Rodriguez who came in for Alex Matos. But Oxford's biggest worries are going forward and scoring goals, where we've looked increasingly toothless over the past few weeks. Some fans are wanting Romani or even Phillips to be given a chance to start up front, but I think that you're going to have to persevere with Harris, although I did think that. I've kind of changed my mind on that now, but I was thinking before the start of this game that Sparky's pretty much going to start every game till the end of the season. He could really do with a goal. John Mousinho's Pompey side started the day in 18th place, 5 points behind United. Portsmouth, like Oxford, have picked up the lion's share of their points at home, but the struggles have come away from Fratton Park. Mousinho makes one change from their side, had an excellent 2-1 win over Cardiff midweek. Hayden Matthews comes into defence instead of the injured Connor Shaughnessy. Ex-U's defender Rob Atkinson is at the heart of Pompey's defence these days, but the returning player that everyone is looking at is Josh Murphy. Murphy has been in electric form over recent weeks, just like we saw him do in an Oxford shirt last season, but Peter Chioso did do a good job up against him at Fratton Park, so fingers crossed he can do it again. So let's get into this one, folks. 20 seconds on the clock, and Greg Lee plays a ball inside straight to Josh Murphy. He doesn't play for us anymore, Greg. Murphy got about 25 yards out. I'm surprised he didn't actually try and take the defender on and run at goal, but he tried his luck from range, and it was a P-roller that went straight through to Jamie Cumming. 10 minutes in, and Portsmouth had certainly started the better of the two sides. Murphy getting half a yard on Chioso, whipped in across onto the head of Colby Bishop. Not the easiest of headers for the Pompey frontman, and it goes over the bar. Not long after that, the game was stopped in the 11th minute for the minute's applause to commemorate the passing of Joey Beecham. Has it really been 3 years? It doesn't seem that long ago, but it was perfectly and immaculately observed by all corners of the ground. The game actually ground to a halt so everybody could do it. It was a really nice display. But what we didn't know was during that minute's applause, there was actually a medical emergency in the crowd, and the game was halted for over 30 minutes. The players actually coming off the pitch had to come back in, out again, do warm-ups before the game started again. Just hope, as I said at the start of the video, whoever it was concerned with this emergency is okay and they're all right. So after the over 30 minutes delay, the game restarted with a Portsmouth free kick in a wide area, which came to nothing. But when these games do start after these medical emergencies, it does put into perspective how animated and how worked up we get over football matches, doesn't it? It all makes it seem just a little bit hollow. For the first time in the game, Oxford had a decent spell of possession on about 22 minutes and carved out a good chance. Harris got the ball out wide on the left-hand side. It worked over the Brannigan, who had a shot from the edge of the box, which was deflected wide for a corner. From that corner, it was cleared, but Brannigan kept the ball alive. He put in a dangerous low cross. Dembele around the penalty spot. You think, oh, he's going to arrive on it and smash it home, but it's a very lame poke by Dembele, who's still not scored a goal for Oxford United, and I think it even hit Greg Lee, who was in an offside position. Really good opportunity, came to nothing. Look, this game wasn't a great spectacle by any stretch of the imagination. It was very scrappy, but I'd still say it was more enjoyable than that game we had against Derby on Tuesday night. But not good news for Oxford United on 40 minutes. Trying to mount a counter-attack, Greg Lee pulled up, clutching his hamstring, and meant that he had to come off and he was replaced by Sam Long. That could have a massive impact on Oxford for the rest of the season. Shortly after that, we had another delay for a horrible clash of heads between Dembele and Swanson. Thankfully, both players were okay. And then 10 minutes of injury time came up on the board. And the ref only played 5, and then he just thought, that's enough, we'll go in now and have a break. I'm not sure what was going on there, but it happened again in the second half. But either way, we got to half-time at 0-0. Very scrappy game. Those delays and breaks in play certainly didn't help. But Portsmouth, for the most part, I would say, were the aggressors, with Oxford looking to hit Pompey on the counter-attack. Portsmouth have put some decent balls into the box, which have been well defended by the U's. And on the flip side, there's been a couple of good opportunities for Oxford on the break, but just like in recent weeks, it feels very disjointed going forward. A lot of misplaced passes, a lot of poor passes by the Yellows. But both sides will feel they can win it. But when Oxford play against Portsmouth, I've got to say, there are a lot of draws. And I wish this game ended in a draw, because it's Portsmouth who seized the initiative right at the start of this second half. Just 47 minutes, 2 minutes into the half, they get an early corner, and it's from that corner it creates a massive scramble in the penalty area. The ball bouncing around. Rob Atkinson actually gets a chance to put in a dangerous cross back across the 6-yard box, and there was Dozzell, completely unmarked, who bundled it in from close range. All very messy and untidy, but from a Portsmouth point of view, a fantastic start to the half. And it kind of did galvanise Oxford a little bit. They did wake up for a little bit. You were seeing they were trying to push the tempo, probably for the first time this afternoon, and there was definitely a step up with the quality of their passing, but they really just could not carve out any chances. And on 58 minutes, it was Portsmouth who came close to a second. Sam Long was caught in possession by Ritchie, who played it into Callum Lang. Callum Lang usually loves a goal against United, but this time in the penalty area, he drilled it straight at Jamie Cumming. Callum Lang actually went off later on in this second half, another hamstring injury, just like Lee for Oxford in the first half of the game, and we'll talk about what impact that might have for Portsmouth at the end. But both sides made changes on about the hour mark, 65 minutes for Oxford, and those changes, quite honestly, could not come soon enough. Harris, Rodriguez and Dembele all coming off. Goodrem, Mills, and a good opportunity for a good run out for Ollie Romani. And it didn't take long for Romani to have an impact. He kept the ball in really well on the right-hand side and then hit a sublime deep cross right across the penalty area, right behind the Portsmouth defence. Plaheta was galloping on the end of it. He got there ahead of Schmidt, but the big Pompey keeper came out and got the block. That really was an excellent save by the Portsmouth stopper there. As Oxford were pushing up, trying to get back into this game, Portsmouth hadn't given up, hunting for a second goal themselves. On 76 minutes, another Oxford mistake. Hellick giving a poor pass away out from the back, created the pressure. Another dangerous ball into the box, but I have to say Hellick, the big pole, did make an excellent interception to stop it going to a Portsmouth player. He did kind of make amends there. But then, as we got into the final 10 minutes, there were some huge chances for United that went begging. 82 minutes on the clock, Brannigan on the left-hand side. He dinked in a delightful ball into the penalty area. Stan Mills got on the end of it. He was only about probably 7 yards out, middle of the goal. Oh, it was quite a simple header, really, but it ends up going wide. Mills made a real mess of it, ended up coming off his shoulder. Big chance missed. Matt Phillips replaced Peter Kioso at that point as Oxford threw on more attackers. We headed into the 90th minute and Oxford had another golden chance. Dan Mills was causing real problems down that right-hand side. A couple of minutes before, he'd already flashed a fantastic effort across goal, a fantastic cross, I should say, which no Oxford player was attacking. It was very frustrating. But then he puts in another sublime ball. It's on a plate for Matt Phillips, who all he has to do is nod it in, and somehow he headed it over the bar. Just like in the first half, though, when the board went up, it said 10 minutes in the first half and they only played 5. They flashed up 1 minute in the second half, and it caused real confusion watching on Sky because they were just saying, oh, the ref's going to blow in a minute. And it was clear there was going to be more than a minute of injury time because of the goal and because of injuries and because of the inevitable Portsmouth time wasting. And it just was a really strange end to the game. All it did, though, was just give Portsmouth a chance to wrap it up with a second goal. With Oxford stretched 96 minutes on the clock, it's played forward to Omani. His first touch was first class, and it was matched by his finish as he calmly slotted it past Jamie Cumming. To the delight of those Portsmouth fans, Omani scored home and away against United this season, and it ends up with Portsmouth coming away from the Kassam with a massive 3 points. And that takes me on to my final thoughts, and let's start with the visitors. Let's start with Portsmouth. Portsmouth fans, what an amazing win for you guys. Your form on the road, pretty much like Oxford really, has been terrible. But I've got to say, I would say your performances away from home haven't matched those results. And I'd actually say there's a couple of games recently where you've been unlucky. Sheffield United, and I say that Burnley game away, you came away losing 3-0 in that game. I'm not sure how that was the case. And maybe, not that you were lucky in this game by any stretch of the imagination, maybe that's just a sign that your fortunes away from home are starting to turn, and maybe you're going to start picking up a few more away wins as the season comes to a close. Because I've got to say, overall, you deserved it. Because I would say the Portsmouth players showed more desire to win this game. I thought overall they were better at pressing Oxford, they were better at passing the ball forward than Oxford, and they created more dangerous opportunities than Oxford. I know we had some chances late on in this game, but whenever Portsmouth had an opportunity to cross the ball, either it was mainly in from Murphy or Oakville from that left-hand side, but they did get a few good balls in from the right as well. They had men in the box attacking it, trying to get on the end of it. Oxford, I thought, for their part, did defend the box really well, but I thought even when they went 1-0 up as well, there was still a desire for Portsmouth to go and win this game. As I said, the main threats did seem to be Oakville and Murphy down the left-hand side. Murphy even looked pretty threatening when he was up against Sam Long on that right-hand side. And it just shows that they've got those attacking players, that attacking quality, capable of winning games. I think overall I'm quite glad that Portsmouth it's nice to see that you've kept the faith with John Mousinho. I mean, obviously we have a bit of an invested history in John Mousinho being an ex-Oxford guy, but it's nice to see that you at many times the Portsmouth board could have knocked it on the head with Mousinho and got a more experienced Championship manager, like what we've seen Oxford do with Rowett and Derby do with getting Eustace in. Sorry, his name escaped me for a second. But Portsmouth have kept the faith with Mousinho, and you're starting to see that prove dividends as more and more likely it's starting to look that Portsmouth, I don't feel, will be in danger come the end of the season. Still, I just want to ask Portsmouth fans about the state of their injuries, the state of your back four. I thought the young lad who came in and played alongside Atkinson today was excellent. Weren't really put under a huge amount of pressure by Oxford, I must say. But you've got Regan Poole back on the bench as well. That's a huge plus for Pompey. Marlon Pack should come back in to give you more quality as well going forward. But you did lose Callum Lang to a hamstring injury. He's been a big influential player for you this season. Just interested to know your thoughts on the state of your injuries and if that's going to hold you back and if that's still going to be a big concern for you moving forward. But overall, fantastic win for Portsmouth today. As annoying as it is for me, you've got to give Pompey credit. They deserve the win. It's we'll get into what my thoughts are on Oxford in just a minute. But enjoy it, Pompey fans. Hopefully we'll get to play against you next season as well. And good luck. And look after that young man, Josh Murphy. But good luck for the rest of the season. That brings me on to Oxford United. What a frustrating afternoon that was, Oxford fans. We haven't had one of those for a while, but this certainly was one of them. And as much as I talked about, is that kind of the fortunes turning for Portsmouth? Is this the start of fortunes turning in a negative way for Oxford United. We can't let that happen, but similar things did creep in under Des Buckingham. We had a good start to the season. We got some wins on the board. Then those wins started to turn into draws. Then those draws started to turn into defeats. Is the same thing going to happen? Because I'll tell you, that running, it isn't looking easy. Before I get into the moaning and groaning, and there is plenty of moaning and groaning, let's just talk about the things that I thought were good today. I thought in the first half, I thought Oxford defended balls into the box really well. That was a main threat from Portsmouth, and I thought they did a good job of it. I thought large part they did in the second half as well. Horrible, scruffy goal to give away, and then we were chasing the game. But I thought overall, I thought Brown and Hellick did a pretty good job. And I thought Liam Kioso did a pretty good job as well. Shame of Greg Lee going down injured. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But also got to say, I thought that the subs did well again. Particularly Stan Mills, who I thought came in and made a massive difference when he came on the pitch. We looked much more likely of scoring a goal when he was on. But Ollie Romani looked pretty lively, looked pretty sharp. Set up a beautiful chance for Blaheta early on. But it was just he was making runs into the channel, spinning defenders, and more than what we were seeing from Mark Harris. So those two guys, along with the way Oxford centre-backs played, I thought were pretty good plus points overall. But there is a lot of doom and gloom and a lot of negativity, unfortunately, to discuss. See, I have no problem with the way Oxford played in terms of letting Portsmouth have a bit more of the ball, letting Portsmouth come on to us, because I thought that was the kind of way it would play out, with Portsmouth generally having quite a high defensive line and looking quite a good attacking side, that there were going to be opportunities for Oxford to kind of hit them on the break. And we tried to do that in the first half, but my goodness, so many times in that first half in particular. It did creep in a bit in the second half. Sloppy passes, poor in possession, players making mistakes, taking the wrong option. And it happened time and time again, not just going forward, but all over the pitch. I thought Oxford were really sloppy and untidy with their passing, really slow and plodding with their passing as well, until we had to chase the game right at the end there. And it was just very frustrating. We didn't put Portsmouth on the back foot enough. We didn't create many chances, and all the players deserve blame for this, because they were all quite guilty of being sloppy in possession. But once again, you've got to come back to say Mark Harris was really poor up front again. There was one good move that he did. There was one run he made early in the game. We nearly got in behind, but he was offside. There was another good run he made, and it nearly set up a chance for Brannigan, and that was good play. But generally, he's so ineffective up against the defenders. He can't hold the ball up. He's not good at running into the channels. I just can't see how you're going to get anything out of Mark Harris now towards the end of the season. And I've been a defender of Mark Harris, and I like the guy. You know, he comes across really well, but he's just not giving us anything from an attacking point of view. You can see that the players, they're not even almost like trying to give the ball to him in many cases, because they just know that they're not going to get much change out of him. And it just feel that you've got to try something different now. Whether that is just you play Matt Phillips up top and you bang balls up to him and hopefully he might be able to hold it up, or you give Romani a sustained run of games. It isn't just Harris though. I thought Dembele was really poor. I thought Blaheta was largely quite poor as well. As I say, it didn't really change until you saw those substitutes come in and make a difference. Rodriguez did all right for me. Didn't really see too much of him going forward, but I thought defensively he actually made a couple of good contributions. That's probably not where you want to see him, but I thought he did okay. But again, it's another situation where Rodriguez comes on, plays really well when he comes on against Derby, takes the game by the scruff of the neck a little bit. You start him, you expect him to do the same, and he just doesn't do the same. And it's frustrating that you can't get a level of consistency out of Ruben Rodriguez at times. And I think that the way Oxford are playing at the moment, and the fact that we look so lacklustre going forward and we don't look like scoring goals, coupled with the fact that Greg Lee is probably you'd think might not play again this season with a hamstring injury, and there's no news on Joe Bennett coming back at all. I wonder whether that will be an excuse for Gary Rowett to change things up now. I wonder if you might see Gary Rowett change to playing wing-backs, playing three at the back, playing Terravest, playing Kioso, and having, well, at the moment, Long, Brown, and Hellick in that back line. I don't know what that's going to mean for the players going forward, but it gives you an opportunity to get Goodrum into the game more, which will be a good thing. I'm not sure how that's going to incorporate players like Blaheta or Dembele or even Mills, but I feel that might be something that we need to try in order to try to wrestle back some momentum, because at the moment we're quite an easy side to play against. Sides know that we're not really going to create too many chances and score many goals against them, and therefore we're just kind of relying on our defence to kind of grind out 0-0 draws. And for the large part, that's done a good job. But I just do wonder if that might give Rowett a chance to try something different, to try to give us a bit more attacking impetus in games. We did miss some big chances. There were some huge chances that were missed. Plaheta, it was a good save by the Pompey keeper. Phillips and Mills, they were gilt-edged chances, really, that should have been tucked away into the back of the net. But I'm telling you now, I'm still worried about Oxford getting relegated this season. We're in a good position. We're on 38 points. We've got a nice cushion away from the drop zone. But I am still worried that we're going to be dragged back into it come the end of the season. We need to start getting some more points on the board quick. And I'm just really nervous that those games that we've had recently where we ended up getting draws, but we really had good opportunities to win them. Bristol City at home, Plymouth away, Stoke away, Derby away. If we'd have won a couple of those games, we'd be in a very much a prettier position than where we are now, because I still look at those fixture lists and I still see a lot of those top sides to play, like your Middlesbroughs, like Leeds, like Sheffield United, like Sunderland, and I'm thinking, how are we going to get points from those games? So it's just cranked up the pressure on Oxford United. We really start to need to see a response. It's going to be a tall order away next week at the Hawthorns. Again, it's really difficult to see Oxford getting anything from those games, and I'm just really worried, as I said, that we're going to be dragged back into it. But let me know your thoughts, Oxford fans. Let me know your thoughts, Pompey fans, as well. This season's taken another twist, hasn't it? And it's not a twist for the better. This was a big week for Oxford United, and we only came away with 1 point. Leave your comments down below. Leave your thoughts down below. Thanks very much for supporting me on this channel. I'm going to go away and cry myself to sleep. And we'll meet again next weekend for a trip to the Hawthorns. Bye for now.